Good morning. It's good to have you join us on Nigeria Now, showing on your digital first Pan-African News Network TOS television. My name is Merciful Ajinobo. On the show today, we'll have Adebayo Fajimi analyzing some stories. You're welcome to the show, sir.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Good morning. Of course, the big story is Russia-Ukraine war, and we see that on the Daily Sun front page. That is, federal government begins evacuation of trapped Nigerians tomorrow. The writer says receives 256 Nigerians in Romania, Hungary, and the second writer says awaits arrival of 200 as 23 on the go documentation. That's on page 6. I know this is a good news for Nigerians, especially those who have friends, families, and relatives in Ukraine. What's your take on this update?
Yeah, it's a good one, and it's going to give a respite to a couple of Nigerians, or let me say a majority of Nigerians who have been gripped by fear because of what is going on, in Ukraine at the moment. So we still need, we just try to, we'll continue to encourage the government to do more than what they are doing to ensure that no life is wasted in that conflict, so that, because there is no justification if people get lost in the conflict. So we keep on encouraging them to do their best to ensure that they don't rest on their laurel. They are doing well, but they can still do better, so that everybody will be at peace and nobody will be lost to that crisis.
The details of that story is on page 6 of the Daily Sun newspaper. From the very top, we see NNPC gives IOC's conditions on divestment from Nigeria. The writer says they must address abandonment of oil assets, says Melekiari. That's on page 25 of the Daily Sun newspaper. Beside the picture of the day, we see Ibadan chieftaincy titles won't be for sale during my reign. That's coming from the new Olubadan, and that's on page 28 of the Daily Sun newspaper. On page 28 as well, 2022 UTME JAM shifts mock exams to April 9th. And on page 26, court upholds Umahi's defection to APC. And then underneath that, we see APC governors to conclude zoning next week. And then we see an update on ASU strike, students protest in Abuja, Kano, just as on page 6. Short National Assembly Education Ministry. We see that same story, of course, on the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. And that's the big story on that newspaper that says Education Minister walks out on student. That's talking about ASU strike. Of course, that's on page 2. And NAN's protest nationwide locks down Federal Secretariat and gives federal government 24 hours to end strike. We know that yesterday, during the protest, the education minister did walk out on the student, of course, who had a lot to say, talking about the president of the NANT, that's the student union. Of course, they had so many threats and things to say because of how the education sector has fared in the last couple of days up. But what's your take on the education minister working out on the protest, coming together to have a conversation, but still the Minister of Education is working out on the students?
No, you shouldn't have done that, no matter provocation that might have come from the student, because that announced once was once my constituency.
Okay.
And I know how students can behave when it comes to things like that. There will be a lot of provocation, incitement, and a lot of that. But these people are young people, and you are a leader, in that particular sector. No matter what they have done, you have no right to walk away from them, because there is no justification for us going on strike. The developed world that these people are taking their children to, are they experiencing something like that? But here in Nigeria, we like to indulge in mediocrity, and we try to we try to paint it in such a way as if it's a norm. It shouldn't be. So no matter what, you are a leader, and you should be able to take decisive steps. You need to be able to take initiative. Whatever the case is, you should be able to douse the tension and give them explanation.
I do know that some reports did say that the students were asking for his resignation.
Well, I've not seen that. I have not seen that report. But no matter what, that is why you are leading. One of the qualities of a leader is your capacity and your ability to manage tense situations. So you working out of them is just outside the context. You shouldn't have done that in the first place.
Okay. Of course, that's on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. From the very top, we see gunmen shoot first-class Ekiti monarch in attempted kidnapped. That's on page 17. And besides that, on page 26 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, talking about constitution amendment, independent candidate must obtain 20% signatures of registered voters nationwide. Governor's deputy to lose seat for cross-carpeting. Of course, that's on page 26. On page 8, governors move against centralized electricity reform bill. That's coming on page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. And of course, we're seeing Russia-Ukraine war evacuation of stranded Nigerians begins tomorrow. That's on page 25. We have a couple of others there, but the last one says Russia faces financial meltdown as sanctions hit its economy. Fuel scarcity worsens. Petrol sells for between 185 to 300 naira per litre nationwide. Of course, we know how it is getting fuel, especially we who are resident in Abuja. That's the Federal Capital Territory. And the number of queues that we keep seeing talking about fuel scarcity at this point in time. Yes, we did say something yesterday that things have to be done, but how long would Nigerians keep suffering this fate?
So how long, I don't know, until we begin to take the bull by the horn, doing the needful for ourselves, not relying solely on external forces or external hands to help us to do what we have. And because if you see what is going on in the global economy, and especially in that sector, there is no way we will not be affected. You can see what is happening in Russia. So there's no way we will not be affected. So, but our leaders should just try to be decisive and take initiative. Taking initiative in such a way that you don't wait until, crisis happen or problem happens. You have, you remember what happened just last month, being what they expected to the country and the damage that has caused, to a lot of Nigerians. So I think we just need to do more for ourselves. We just need to do more for ourselves. So rather than relying on external hands, to help us run our lives.
On page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune, talking about COVID-19, Nigeria recorded over 250,000 cases, 3,000 deaths in 2 years. That's coming from NCDC. And court orders CBN to release NNPC's 82 billion naira debt to Akwa Ibom communities. That was on page 30 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. On the Vanguard, the big story there is 40% of Nigerian youth jobless. That's coming from Adeshina. Says restructuring should be economic, financial viability driven as group asks him to join 2023 presidential race. I don't know about the statistics. I don't know if you have anything to say about the statistics, but some people do believe that it is more than this. 40% of Nigerian youth jobless. That's coming from Adeshina, and he's saying restructuring should be economic and financial viability driven. What's your take on this?
Well, I don't know how Dr. Adeshina
came up with this statistics.
But I want to believe that what we are seeing in Nigeria as of today is more than what is seen. So more than 40% Nigerians are jobless. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I would say 80-85%.
That's really big.
Of course, because we know what is happening in our society. You see what African Nigerians youth, what has become of them on the street. They smoke, they mime, they do all manner of things just because they don't have means of livelihood. You have a graduate who doesn't have a job, you don't have any. In fact, there are some of them who have even gone to acquire skill, but they don't have any means to establish that idea and the skills they have.
To explore and make money from it.
Yes, to explore. So there is more to do, and until we are able, to engage these people. Because somebody who has no job will eventually go hungry. And hungry man can go to any length to do anything, at least to put food on his table. And he could go and kill, he could abduct, he could do
Which
anything.
Which is happening already.
So we need to do something decisive to ensure that this comes to an end.
Definitely, I do agree with you on that one. Talking about the Guardian newspaper, the banner line there is, how do as Nigerian companies take over IOC's onshore assets? Do make sure you pick up yourself a copy of all of these newspapers so you can know what is happening, of course, in Nigeria. And we come your way every day, Mondays to Friday, of course, to read these headlines and analyze some stories. And don't forget, you can also be a part of our social media community. That is at TOS TV Network on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And our website is right there for you to stay updated. That is www.tostvnetwork.com. Thank you again for joining us today. My name is Merciful Ajinimo. Have a wonderful day and see you tomorrow.